The hidden fortress? I repeated.
Correct,
Gliwick said. Perhaps under normal circumstances, I would have been tempted to mention the Akira Kurosawa film The Hidden Fortress, which was a huge influence on the first Star Wars movie, but given that I needed to convince the director I was not the person for the job, and that she should let Earth into the Confederation anyhow, I figured I should soft-pedal this one. Wasn't that a Japanese movie? Colonel Rage asked.
Kurosawa,
Nyana said.
It was a major influence on the first Star Wars,
Charles added cheerfully. By now I was already regretting having brought Charles, Misun, and Nyana into this, not to mention Alice, though she hadn't been my decision. It seemed like Gliwixus saw us, at worst, as expendable commandos, or at best as the Young Avengers. I wanted to get Earth back into the running for joining the Confederation, but I wasn't going to talk my friends into going on a suicide mission. I'd already agreed to consider the request, which meant I'd gotten Tamret off Rarl. Now I figured the smart move would be to not agree to anything until I'd seen her. Maybe there was a way for us to do what they wanted that wasn't ridiculously dangerous. This sounds pretty risky, I ventured.
You have successfully led dangerous missions before,
Gliwick said. That was true, but before I was risking everything to save my father, and I believed to save my planet. Also, and perhaps more importantly, I'd had Tamret by my side. Tamret, who said she could do anything and really could. Who had made me feel like I could do anything, and who had stacked the deck, so it was pretty near true. Now I'd be ordinary Zeke, who was not about to lead his ordinary friends into something better suited for trained soldiers. I've been ordered to cooperate with the director, Colonel Rage said to us. That means I'm going to help her as best I can. You kids aren't military, however, and I can't order you to do squat. If you want to go, I'll back you up to the best of my ability. But I'm going to be straight with you. I've got a son about your age, and there's no way I'd let him do this.
That is not helpful, Colonel,
the director said, waving her eye stalks in a way I thought might suggest disappointment. My job isn't to agree with you, or anyone else, the colonel said. I call 'em like I see 'em. If I need to risk my own life to complete the mission, I'll do it. That's who I am, but it doesn't take a genius to see that's not who these kids are.
The last time we did something insanely foolish,
Nyana said.
Tamret bent the rules, and that gave us an advantage. Yes, your hacking of the skill tree system,
Gliwick said.
The encryptions have been upgraded, and Junip's security team is monitoring the network for any suspicious activity. I'm afraid you won't find it possible to do that again. I understand we must do this if Earth is to join the Confederation, Charles said. But nevertheless, I believe it's a bad idea. It's a terrible idea,
Nyana said. Look, Colonel Rage said, your committee wants these kids to risk their lives to help you because you know they won't cross you. I get that, but they're children. And they're not trained for this. You're not comfortable with American military on your station, and I get that too. But you can't always have exactly what you want. I think you need to bite the bullet and go back to your people. Convince them to allow a small group of elite personnel from our armed forces to help you out. If there's going to be risk, it shouldn't fall on a group of minors whose only qualification is that they yanked your fat out of the fire once before. Colonel Rage makes a lot of sense, I said. I'd need to hear more about this plan before I could make any decision, but it sounds pretty dangerous.
I can't force you to do this,
Gliwick said.
And your friend, Tamret, will be freed regardless, but I believe what we're offering you as payment for your efforts is worth some risk.
Now, the room fell silent. That was the prize at the end of this whole ordeal. Earth could become a place without poverty, or illness, or war. We could, in my lifetime, be accepted as full members of the Confederation, a part of the larger galactic community. Somehow, whether that happened was now up to a bunch of kids who weren't old enough to get learner's permits. We need some time to think about this, I said, figuring that delay was my best tactic. And I want to talk to Steve and Tamret. And I want them to be included in briefings where we get more specific information. We'll decide what to do then.
No, we won't,
Niana said.
I've already decided, and I don't care what your lunatic friends say. I'm sorry, Zeke. I sort of like Steve, and I even came to not entirely hate Tamret. She made me her sister or something, which I suppose was nice, but those two are both loose cannons. I'm not going to put my life in the hands of a couple of aliens who aren't afraid of anything.
No matter what anyone else decides, you don't have to go if you don't want to, Niana. At that, her eyes began to glisten, and she turned away.
You are such a jerk, she said. If you go, I'll have to go too.
Zeke has the right idea, Colonel Rage said. We don't have to make a decision now. All the players aren't here, and we need time to process. Let's take this under advisement, and we'll reconvene to bring the other aliens into the loop.
I think that to be wise, Captain Hyai said. Director? I can ask no more than that. When we arrive at Confederation Central, I can provide more logistical information, and I hope I can convince you that what I am asking is within your abilities and reasonably safe. And on behalf of the Confederation of United Planets, I thank you all for listening and engaging with this matter with open minds and good hearts.
At that, we all stood.
I am returning to my quarters to work, the director said. I wish you all a good day. May I walk with you? The captain asked. That is a matter of some importance we must discuss. Of course.
The two of them then headed out of the room. Colonel Rage said he was going to go get something to eat, and Misun and Charles joined him. I was headed back to the guest quarters with Niana when I ran into Urch.
Zeke, I must speak with you.
Niana waved me away, to say it was fine with her, and Urch and I headed off in the direction of the battle sim room. What's going on? I asked.
Maybe nothing, he said, but my instincts tell me that the crew is plotting something. They are behaving more suspiciously than usual.
I suddenly felt that unique disorientation in which everything seems real and unreal, up and down, and I knew we were no longer tunneling through interdimensional space, or however it was we traveled faster than light. I looked at Urch, and he stared back. Nothing needed to be said. We were still a long ways off from Confederation Central. Dropping into normal space meant something was very wrong. Urch looked at his bracelet.
There's no order to emerge from tunnel, he said, and the executive officer hasn't posted an alert. This is deliberate.
Urch was about to speak, but a pair of crewmen turned the corner, and they were headed our way. They were still distant enough that they wouldn't be able to hear us if we spoke quietly, but Urch was taking no chances. Be advised, Smelly said suddenly, that those beings are armed and their biosigns suggest malevolent intent. I looked over at them, but my glance must have been all they needed. Both of them reached for their weapons. I opened my mouth to warn Urch, but he was way ahead of me. With one hand, he shoved me to the floor, and with the other, he raised his PPB pistol, which he'd already pulled out from somewhere. He fired off 2 shots before the other 2 could get their weapons raised.
I don't usually walk around armed, Urch said, but this is what I had a bad feeling about.
He keyed his data bracelet.
Captain Hyai, please answer.
The audio suddenly kicked in, and I heard the unmistakable sound of PPB fire on the other end. There was a brief pause, in which I feared the worst, and then I heard the captain's voice. If you're planning on warning me about a mutiny, I've already found out.
Are you hurt?
Urch asked.
Negative. The director and I are safe, but I don't know for how long. I think the entire crew is compromised.
Agreed,
Urch said.
Orders?
Secure this channel.
Urch hit a few keys.
Encrypted,
he said.
I think both the humans and the director are targets. We need to get them off the ship. We've got a long-range shuttle in Bay 2.
Understood,
Urch said.
I'll alert the other humans. Sir, you look after yourself and the director.
We'll see you at the rendezvous point.
Urch keyed off and gestured down the hall with his gun. Without waiting to be told, I opened an encrypted channel to the other humans, announced the plan, and told everyone to acknowledge. Zeke, this is Charles. I'm with the Colonel and Misun. We're on our way. I can't get into the weapons locker, Colonel Rage said.
But I'm armed. Some squirrely-looking thing, I mean literally squirrely, tried to take me down, so I relieved him of his firearm.
He broke the wall with the guy's face, Mi-san said.
Dented it,
grunted the colonel. I realized there was still one of us I hadn't heard from. Niana? I signaled her directly.
Yes, hello,
she said calmly, like she was answering her phone while drinking iced tea on the veranda.
I'm with the captain and the director. They're bringing me in.
Okay, be careful. I signed off, and concentrated on getting to the shuttle bay without being killed.